So, chapter 21, fons sacer, sacred fountain. Right? Welcome to Latin too. So, in this chapter, we saw the perfect passive participle. We talked about that. It is the fourth principal part of a regular verb. It's a first and second declension adjective, right? A participle is a verbal adjective, and it's translated generally as having been blanked, right? So, invitatus there in the second line, highlighted is going to be having been invited, right? So, uh, as just indicated, the perfect passive participles are highlighted, and of course the verbs are underlined in red. Right, so let's look at that first paragraph. Quintus apud saviam manebat per totem hiemem. Saepe ad alam cogidimni ebat a rege invitatus. Quintus a multa de vita sua nerabat, quod rex aliquid noe audiri semper volebat. So first verb, manebat. So what's your meaning? Was staying. Who was the nominative? So Quintus was staying apud Salvius, with Salvius. Right. So apud, I might give you a definition as at the house of. That's kind of unnecessarily specific, but it's the idea. So with, right, here it is, in fact, at Salvius's house. So Quintus was staying with Salvius per totem hiemam through the whole winter. Right. So if you remember previously, he was staying at Salvius's house. He's related to his wife Rufilla, you recall. Okay, so Saipe ad alam kagudimni ebat. So the verb is ebat. Remember the sim is just letter I, so it's that to go verb. Of course, this is imperfect, so was going or would go for repeated action. So Saipe often ebat, there's no new subject, so it's just he would go ad alam to the palace. And then we recognize here a genitive, right? Right next to the word we're looking at with the of idea. So to the palace of Kagudimnus. Invitatus, having been invited, a rege, right? Rege here, of course, is ablative. Object of a sid space, a, short for ab, but it's also doing something called the ablative of agent here. With a passive verb form, I hear a passive participle. When the action is done by a living thing, so here a person, you use the ablative agent, and that's a or ab, of course, plus the ablative. Right? So object of a sid space, yeah, but it's also the ablative of agent. Okay, if the action is done by a thing, so something that's not alive, then you use something called the ablative of means, and it would also be ablative, but you wouldn't use or ab, right? We'll see examples of that. Right, so having been invited by the king, right? Who? Well, he, that is Quintus, right? Because invitatus is nominative singular, so it's modifying the subject. So that was he, right? Quintus a multa de vita sua nerabat. So the verb is nerabat, was telling. Quintus is nominative, so Quintus was telling. He was telling, no doubt, the accusative. So we need the accusative. Multa, many, many. What about that a? It's a plural a here, right? It's many things, right? And that's going to be neuter, so that's why it's a plural a here, right? An accusative plural a. So many things. All right. So he was telling the accusative to the dative, right? AE here is data from the ISAID chart we saw at the end of last year. So many things to him. Okay, then just a prepositional phrase, de vita sua, about his life. You remember the S pronouns are reflexive, so it's about his, that is Quintus's life. Okay, quad, there's no singular neuter here for it to be referring to, so it's no doubt it's because, right? Because the king, right? What's our verb? Volebat, he wanted. That takes an infinitive, a complementary infinitive. Audire, that's a fourth conjugation infinitive, right? IRE. He wanted to hear the accusative, which is going to be aliquid, something. Okay. He always, semper, wanted to hear something. Then there's noe here, right, which is actually a genitive. And this is a use of the genitive they haven't talked about, but you're going to see in the upcoming grammar section. And it's called the genitive of the whole, or the partitive genitive, like part of the whole. So it's something of new, right? It's a part of something of the new stuff, right? That's not really, we wouldn't really do this in English. We wouldn't say something of new. We would just say something new. right? But in Latin, you have this something of new, right? We can translate it as something new because that's natural English, but keep in mind that no there is genitive, and it's a partitive genitive or a genitive of the whole, right? And we will see that in the grammar section later. So something of new, something new. You always want to hear something new. Ubi where apromiquabat? So something was approaching. Okay, what's nominative? Certainly not ubi, that's not even a noun. Where, right, is spring, like the vernal equinox. So ubi here can be where or when. When's going to work better here. When spring was approaching, comma, cogitibus in morbum gravum incidit. So perfect tense, incidit, he fell. In plus the accusative was into, he fell into a morbum gravum, a serious illness. He fell into a serious illness. You get what he's saying here, right? He became very ill. Right? Multimedici ad aulum arcesiti remedium morbi quasi-verent. Okay, so what's my verb? Quasi-verent. So they sought, looked for. Who did? Nominative. You know nominative, right? That's a genitive. That's an accusative. Okay, that's nominative. Arcesiti. Anything else? Multimedici, right? So multimedici, many doctors. And then arcesiti is a perfect passive participle modifying multimedici. So many doctors having been summoned ad aulum to the palace. So many doctors having been summoned to the palace looked for a remedium morbi, a cure of the disease. In groescebat tamen morbus. So nevertheless, the morbus, the illness, in groescebat, it was getting worse, right? Imperfect, but it's a process happening over time, right? It was getting worse. It makes sense for the imperfect. Rex quintum et salium de remedio anxious consiluit. The verb is consiluit. It's perfect tense. The second u here is a clue that it's a perfect stem. So the king, that's nominative, the only nominative, and I only wanted one because it's singular, right? The king consulted the accusative, Quintus, and Salvius. Prepositional phrase, de remedio, about a cure. Then axios here is nominative. And remember, when the adjective describes a subject, you can usually take like an adverb, and that'll make sense here. So the king anxiously consulted Quintus and Salvius about a cure. Right, remedio, of course, is ablative, object of a said space. Miquinte, which of course we know is vocative, right? Remember the second declension, nouns of US in the noun singular. The US goes to E, right? And then if it was IUS, it goes to I. So Salvius would go to Salvi in the vocative. Quintus goes to Quinte. And then me is like a special my in the vocative. It's a special form of my used in the vocative. So my Quintus, he said, to S, right? Don't forget S. Don't forget the easy stuff. So you are a man. Magna prudentia. This is also genitive. This is another use of the genitive that we haven't seen. But just like the partitive genitive above, you can get the idea just by using of. So you're a man of great prudence, wisdom. It's a genitive of characteristic or a genitive of description, right? And we still use this in English, right? He's a man of good taste, a woman of good morals, right? Here, a man of great prudence. Okay. So it describes the we're. We're, by the way, is what declension. So you might think it's third, but it's second. Just one of those seconds that lack a US, but they have all the other endings. Okay. So you're a man of great prudence or wisdom. Wolo was our next verb. I want. All right, I need an infinitive to give, but it's not I want myself to give, it's I want te. Right? Te here is an accusative subject of the infinitive dare. So when an infinitive has its own subject, it goes in the accusative. Right? If that infinitive can take an accusative object, you're going to have two accusatives. You have to figure out which one is the subject and which one's the object. I usually and helpfully here the subject one comes first. So I want te, that's my accusative subject of the infinitive dare. I want you to give the accusative concilium advice, mihi to me, the dative. Ad fontem sacram ire debio, so debio, should I, ought I, the complementary infinitive here, go, ad fontem sacram, to the sacred fountain. Right? Fontem, third declension, if you don't already know, what gender must it be? Masculine, right? Because sacrum is a first and second adjective and has a second ending, so it's modifying a masculine here. And no, it's not modifying a neuter because it has that em ending. A neuter wouldn't have that. Ubi est Estefan. So where is that fountain? Right? Este here, not negative connotation, but still more of a distancing because Quintus doesn't know where it is, right? So where is that fountain? Asked Quintus. Est, it is, right? In Opido Aquisulis. So it's in the town Aquisulis. Remember, in English we would say in the town of Aquisulis, but in Latin, the whole thing would be the same case. So this is all appellative, right? And the name of the town is plural. That's why we have IS. Well, Aquises. So it's the waters of Sulis. Okay, so responded Cognitivus. Multe igroti. So many sick people, right? Invalids, which I've had some students mispronounce as invalids, invalids, or better yet, just go with sick people if you're unsure of your pronunciation. All right, relative clause describing these sick people who ex illo fonte aquam biberant, so who, what, biberant, drank the accusative, aquam, water. All I have left is a prepositional phrase, ex illo fonte, from that fountain. So sick people, many sick people, multi agroti, who drank water from that fountain, afterwards convalescent, got better. Right? What hopefully you do in a convalescent home, right? Convalescent, got better. An architect, Aromanis misus. So misus is a perfect passive participle from mitos, which is fourth principal part. So misus having been sent, and then Aromanis, the ablative of agent, by the Romans. So an architect sent by the Romans, extruxit, built, right? The X is a clue that is perfect. Very large baths, termas maximus, right? That's the superlative of Magnus, remember? So built very large baths there. Right? So it's kind of like Our Lady of Lourdes, if you know about that place, where there's a sacred spring that people believe cures them, and the Romans built a huge bath structure there. Prope terma stat templum Dei Sulis. So near the baths stands a temple, Dei Sulis, of course, that's genitive, a temple of the goddess Sulis, her Celtic name, right? I think we saw in the reading, or we'll see in the reading, she's identified with the Romans with Minerva, of course, is Athena for the Greeks. So near the baths stands a temple of the goddess Sulis. Edificatum, built, having been built, right? A perfect passive participle from edifico, having been built by the ablative agent by my craftsman. So meis fabris, ablative. Ego deum saipe Honarawi, right? Perfect tense. The V is a semplu, plus the ending here is kind of peculiar. It's the I pronoun form, right? Honarawi, I honored. So I often honored the goddess. Now, fortasse, perhaps, dea me sanare potest. The goddess is able to sanare, first conjugation infinitive, to heal me. Salvi. All right, now we have the vocative salvius, right? Second declension ius goes to I in the vocative, so salvius. You are vir magna claritatis, a man of great cleverness. Right, so another genitive of description or characteristic, right? A man of great cleverness. I want, right? Is I want another accusative in infinitive. So I want you to give advice to me. Pretty much what he said before. What facere debio? What debio should I facere do? Tu es vir sapiens. You are a vir sapiens, a wise man. He responded, it is melius. Remember that is comparative, right? Melior. It's melius in the neuter nominative and accusative singular. Right? So it is better to be for you, testamentum facere, to make a will. Right? Talk about a Debbie Downer. Maybe you should make a will. You're probably going to die. Well, thanks for coming over, Salvius. The creature here behind Salvia seems to be making a similar face. And this little cherub is kind of grabbing Quintus by the head, it looks like. This, of course, is a mural painting. That wasn't obvious. There's not this weird stuff going on out a window behind him. That's a painting, it's supposed to be. It doesn't feel well. I think it's to take off that heavy crown. Everyone knows he's king. Doesn't going to wear the crown all the time. Oh, I'm so special. I wear this really heavy hat. All right, so that's the first translation of Latin 2. Many more to follow, but only 14 chapters and like 20 of last year. So until next time.